So, hello there, and welcome back to another Night to the Movies podcast. I'm Spike Knight, and in these podcasts, I like talking all things movies and TV, and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's podcast, I'm reviewing Smile 2. So, let's get into it, shall we? Smile 2, if you hadn't guessed already, is the sequel to Smile, which released in 2022. And Park Finn, who directed Smile, returns to direct the sequel. However, most of the cast from the first Smile do not return here, and instead, the sequel is led by Naomi Scott, who's probably best known for playing Jasmine in the Aladdin remake, which came out in 2019. And I'm going to admit this straight off the bat, I wasn't really excited to see this film because the first Smile for me, at its best, was okay. I didn't think it was a terrible movie by any means. I actually had fun watching it in the cinema, but I've only seen it once. And that was when I saw it in the cinema, when I reviewed it for this channel 2 years ago now. It feels weird that was 2 years ago now, but it was apparently. Yeah, that's the only time I saw the film, and I felt no need to go back and rewatch it because it didn't impress me. And just the more I thought about it, the more I thought, yeah, it was okay. Like I said, it was okay at best. There were some good jump scares, but it didn't make me feel scared. And it didn't get under my skin like the best horror movies, in my opinion, should do. So when I heard that a sequel was being made, I was like, of course it's because, the movie was probably made for a really small budget. It's no surprise that the first Mile is guessing a sequel. And then when the trailers were released, I was like, none of it was impressing me too much because, especially as I kept seeing the trailers for this film every single time I go to cinema recently. And granted, I go to cinema loads. I go to cinema, at least I try to, once a week. But it's like, even with the non-horror movies I was seeing, I was still seeing the trailer for this film, and I just got so sick of it. I didn't want to see the trailer for this film anymore. And the trailers weren't that great to begin with, in my opinion, for this film. But since it released a week or so ago, now it's been receiving some rave reviews, and some horror aficionados, which I watch on YouTube, have been saying it's actually a pretty good film. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. I've spoken about this on this channel a lot in the past. I am not a big horror movie person, but I do like some horror movies quite a bit. There's some horror movies actually which I love, and obviously it's horror season because we're approaching Halloween now. Halloween really isn't too far away, is it? Christ, that just kind of snuck up me. Anyway, I was hoping that this would be a horror movie which I ended up really enjoying, like The Substance, which I watched not too long ago now. So I went to cinema hoping for the best when I went to go and watch this yesterday. And the Google plot synopsis for Smile 2 goes as follows. About to embark on a new world tour, global pop sensation Sky Riley, played by Naomi Scott in this film, begins to experience increasingly terrifying and inexplicable events. Overwhelmed by the escalating horrors and pressures of fame, she must face her dark past to regain control of her life before it spirals out of control. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about Smile 2 before seeing it. And honestly, I thought this film it wasn't for me. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't come out of the cinema going, well, that was such an awful movie, like I sometimes do. But I did come out of the cinema feeling underwhelmed and, feeling like I'd wasted my time to a certain point. I mean, again, I don't think it's a terrible movie, and there's a lot to admire. But the film wasn't for me for a number of reasons. But just before I get into those reasons, I want to talk about the positives that I found with this movie when I was watching it yesterday. First of all, I think Naomi Scott is a brilliant lead in this movie. She gives a physical performance more than anything. and she really throws herself into the lead role as this pop star called, what's her name, Sky Riley. I totally believe this is pop star, which sounds like a small thing, but it's a big thing when you're in a film like this. And apparently she has made some music. Naomi Scott, outside of her acting, has done some music herself. I'm not familiar with any music she has done, but I heard that in an interview, and I can totally believe that because she plays the part of a pop star very well, and she shows off her range in this film in a way that I truly didn't think she was capable of. Because after watching her, I mean, again, I haven't really seen her much. I've only seen her in the Aladdin remake. I thought she would do more after that remake, to be honest, because she seemed to be the biggest thing coming out of that movie, the thing people raving about the most regarding the Aladdin remake. And I don't think she's done much since then. And going into this movie, I was thinking, okay, how good is performance going to be? Because I've heard some people raving about it. In her performance, she shows all this range, which I really didn't think she was capable of. And she is phenomenal in this film. Genuinely phenomenal. And I really, truly didn't expect to say that, but I am glad that I am saying that now because I wasn't expecting much for a performance in this film, and I was pleasantly surprised. Plus, Parker Finn clearly knows what he's doing when he comes to this franchise, and it is a franchise now. I do think we're going to get a third film within the next couple of years. Maybe a TV show, the way franchises work nowadays. I think Parker Finn clearly knows how to make one of these movies, and it is well directed. There are some creepy stuff in this film, which you'd expect from a film called Smile, and when everybody gets possessed and they do the smile thing, there is some really creepy imagery that leans on the whole smile possession aspect of the film, and does so in a way that works for this film. Plus, there are some good sequences. There's a flashback sequence with two characters in a car, which I actually found the most scary part of the film. And there's also a good sequence that takes place at this charity event. At least I think it was a charity event in the film. Yeah, there was a really good sequence there. There was definitely things to like about this movie. There are certainly things to like, and clearly the production value and the budget is on the screen in the way you want from a film like this, from a horror sequel. Clearly they've bigged up the budget, and you can tell that when you're watching the film. But for me, the horror was just too unbelievable. For me, the horror in horror movies has to be believable in order for me to be scared. And I was never scared, or not really during this film, apart from that one sequence where those two characters in a car. And apart from something where, I'm not going to go into too many details, but a character steps on some broken glass at one point. But even that was done much better in the first Quiet Place, when we see Emily Blunt's character step on the nail when she's going down the stairs and she can't make a sound. It was done much better in that film. But there is something involving broken glass on the floor, which did make me go, ooh, when I was watching it. It did make me feel a bit squeamish. Don't know if that's the right word there, but it's a word I've used. There were some parts which did make me feel a little uneasy when I was watching the film, but for the most part, it felt like horror for the sake of horror. It wasn't making me scared, and it felt like the film was trying to make me scared, but not succeeding. I don't know if anyone else has felt that with horror movies. Sometimes you watch a horror movie where it feels like you can see behind the curtain. You can see what the filmmakers are trying to do, and you're just not falling for it. All the jump scares in this film, and there were a hell of a lot of jump scares. All the jump scares in this film really felt cheap and were predictable. I could see where the jump scares were coming from a mile away. It did get to a point in the movie where it felt like the filmmakers going, okay, here we go, incoming jump scare, incoming jump scare, incoming jump scare, and here's a jump scare. That's what it felt like, and I could see these jump scares coming from a mile away, but they weren't any good. And I've spoken about this at length on this channel in the past. I personally think that jump scares are cheap. Yes, they can elicit an emotion for 10 seconds, but then the emotion is over with. And sure, jump scares are fun, maybe when you're watching a horror movie with a group of mates, but also the jump scares are best when they're properly done well. And I did not think the jump scares were done well in this movie. Like I said, I could see them coming from a mile away. And the finale of this movie was, very confusing. I still don't quite understand what happened in the finale. And I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to give away anything, but I literally sat there throughout the finale of the film going, what's going on, what's going on? And then something happened towards the end of the film. I was like, wait, what? And about 10 minutes into the film, I guessed what the very end of this film was going to be. And I was 100% correct. Literally, the final scene started to play and I was like, oh no. I was right, because I was thinking at one point on the finale, maybe I was wrong with my prediction. Maybe that's not what's going to happen. And then the final scene came up and I was like, oh no, it is what's going to happen. Oh, I hate that I predicted it. I hate that I knew what the ending was going to be. I didn't know going in. That was the thing. I hadn't read it anywhere. I just literally guessed it when I was watching the film in the cinema. I was like, I guessed what the ending was going to be. And the ending sets this film up to be a franchise where there'll probably be like, I don't know, 10 more Smile movies, because that's what horror franchises are like. They make horror franchises go on forever, and I reckon now there's going to be innumerable Smile sequels in the future. I felt that the end of the film not only was predictable on another level, but also was just setting up more Smile movies to come, and I didn't like that. You know, it should have been more self-contained. And I can hear people say, oh, well, it is self-contained and everything. And I'm like, is it though? Because otherwise, why would they call it Smile 2? Why would they not just give it a different name? You know, because I do feel like you had to watch the first Smile to understand the opening sequence of the film. And I didn't love that either. And plus, the film is way too long. It's 2 hours and a quarter, and horror movies shouldn't be that long. Horror movie should be 90 minutes or around the 90-minute mark, in my opinion. Whenever a horror movie is over 2 hours, I get nervous going into it. And I was nervous going into the film, and unsurprisingly, I did feel it was too long. And it drags in its middle section. It drags in its liminal section. I was never really scared by it or entertained by it. It wasn't that fun to watch for me, you know, because with a whole movie like this, it should be a bit tongue-in-cheek. You know, the whole idea behind the Smile movies, that this smile curse that people keep seeing where, you know, somebody starts smiling at them and then they start to kill themselves whilst they're smiling. It's quite a dark subject matter, but I think in the right hands, that could be quite tongue-in-cheek and be done in a really entertaining fashion, but I don't feel that has happened yet. These films are way too serious. The horror in these films, and this is just me, and I can see other people, you know, feeling very differently about this, but for me, the horror movies in these films are way too serious and aren't fun enough, and it did get to a point of me, but it was like gore for gore's sake, horror for horror's sake. It didn't feel like there's a reason behind a lot of the gore in this film. It felt like, oh, we're going to make this sequence gory because we're making a horror movie, or we're going to inject horror here. Why? Not for any narrative reason, just because we want to make this scene scary, but it isn't scary if there's no narrative reason behind it, and if the horror isn't realistic, if I don't believe in it, and I don't believe in the whole Smile curse behind this movie. I don't find it believable one bit. I don't buy into it, and because of that, I don't buy into the horror of this movie, and therefore I find these films pretty unscary to watch. You know, I don't even know if that's a word, but I've used it, and you can understand what I'm getting at. I don't find these films scary to watch, is the point I'm making. But the best horror movies get under my skin, make me feel unnerved, make me feel creeped out, make me not want to get up from my seat once I finish watching them in the cinema. But this film didn't get under my skin. You know, I just kind of sat there like, this is meant to be working for me, but I don't really care about so much going on in this film, and this film hasn't given me a reason to get invested in anything going on. Like, I never really got invested in its central character. I didn't really care about Naomi Scott's character in the film. Naomi Scott gives a terrific performance, pun intended, but that's not enough. I need to have something about the character that gets me invested, and nothing about her character really got me invested in this film. And yeah, I didn't get invested into it, and it didn't get under my skin, which the best horror movies do. And I did come out the cinema feeling deflated and feeling like maybe the Smile franchise isn't for me. You know, I mean, that being said, if someone else directs the third Smile movie, and I do think a third, can't speak apparently, I do think a third Smile movie will happen, and if someone else directs the next Smile movie, then maybe I'll be interested. And I'm not. And the thing is, I don't think Parker Finn does a bad job directing these films, not one bit. But his directing style is, I don't gel with it. I feel someone else needs to maybe direct the next Smile film, and then perhaps I would be interested in it. But even then, I'm not guaranteeing. It wasn't for me. This is not the type of horror movie I like. And if you enjoy it, that's great. I'm super jealous. I don't want to take any enjoyment away from anybody. There are some people who are really getting something out of this movie. And I watched in the cinema yesterday, and I was walking behind this family that were, leaving the cinema alongside me, and the family was saying how much they enjoyed it. So there are people getting something out of this movie. But this is just one of those horror movies where I'm like, yeah, this is why I'm not so big on the horror franchise. These type of horror movies, yeah, take themselves too seriously, and need to be more enjoyable. Need to be a bit more tongue in cheek. Need to be a bit more self-referential, a bit more meta. I mean, they just need to be better. And they also need to somehow tap into horrors we find in our own lives, and I don't think these both Smile films really do that. But that's just me. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Smile 2, I hate being negative, but I'm going to say that it's a 4 out of 10. It was really annoying. I came back from watching the film yesterday. I came back in my house, and my brother went, why do you go and watch these movies if you don't enjoy them? And I'm like, because I want to enjoy them. I want to be surprised by Smile 2, even so I really wasn't a huge fan of the first Smile. I want to come out Smile 2 and go, you know what, that was a damn good horror sequel and surpassed the first Smile in every single way. But I did come out of this film feeling like, yeah, I probably would have enjoyed the first Smile more. I mean, I did enjoy the first Smile more. The first Smile, it was fun watching in the cinema because of the enhanced viewing experience. Whenever you watch a film in the cinema, there's automatically this enhanced viewing experience, and the jump scares I thought worked to a degree with the first film, but the jump scares didn't even work in this movie. And I really wanted to like it. I love going into a film and not expecting much of them, being surprised by it. But that didn't happen here, I just didn't buy into the horror. It wasn't realistic enough for me. I just, the whole idea behind the Smile films, I don't find that scary. But again, that's just me. And there are plenty of people who've got something out of this film. I just wish I was one of them. And yeah, I did prefer the first Smile, but that's not saying much. And I do think that perhaps the Smile franchise just isn't for me. Now what? In a couple of years, Smile 3 will come out, and I'll go watch it, and I'll absolutely love it. But only time will tell, because right now, I am done with the Smile movies. And so, all in all, as I've already said, and as I'm going to say once more in this podcast today, Smile 2 is a 4 out of 10 from me. Anyway, guys, that's it for today's podcast. If you have seen Smile 2, please let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. Maybe you loved it, and if you did, that's fantastic, and please let me know why I'm wrong in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching or listening to the podcast, and if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like and subscribe on this video. I look forward to many more videos and many more podcasts coming very, very soon on this channel. As I've already said, thank you as always for watching or listening to this podcast, and I suppose that's it. So I will see you guys again soon, but bye for now. Bye.